So wait a minute. So you're telling me other people put out comic books other than Marvel and DC?
Yeah.
Really?
There are all sorts of different kinds of stories and things like that.
Are they in color?
Some of them.
They're not in color?
Some are black and white. Others are in like a color scale.
That's crazy talk. Hey, welcome to iFanboy, the video podcast discussion video show TV thing.
It's TV on the web about comic books, and we have a website, iFanboy.com.
And we come here and we talk about comics on the
why
video.
It's called iFanboy, which is us.
You wouldn't know we've been doing this for almost a year.
That's amazing.
Not at all.
I'm Ron.
I'm Connor.
And I'm Josh. This week we're going to talk about Top Shelf, a publisher.
Oh, okay.
You know, when I suggested that joke earlier, you were like, that's too obvious. I don't want to do it.
He goes with obvious, though. He was trying to protect your rep.
Yeah.
All right.
So Top Shelf
I
Comics.
wouldn't do that kind of joke. Yeah, they are a publisher of many types of books, and you can guarantee that most any of them wouldn't be published at Marvel or DC.
They're truly an indie publisher.
Yeah, they are. This year is their 10th year publishing.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
guys.
they're having a party. Started by Chris Staros and Brent Warnock, who are basically still the company. They've hired a couple other people, but it's a pretty small operation. They work out of Marietta, Georgia, which is where things are published. The first book that came out was Pete Sickman Garner's Hey Mister, which I think I read a long time ago.
I did not.
No. They're known as a small indie publisher, but the thing is, you know, they've had Alan Moore books.
They've become Alan Moore's home.
Yeah, he posted.
For now.
Yeah. Craig Thompson, who's a name who's sort of getting known outside of comic circles, or it's like one of those, like when superhero comics readers know a few indie comics, like he's one of those guys.
Yeah.
That's from him. James Kolchaka, who is like the mastery of comics, like cartooning.
Yeah.
And what I've never gotten into.
He's immensely, like, he's ridiculously successful.
Yeah.
And, like, completely off our radar. I mean, like, so.
Well, they, you know, you'd think of most indie publishers publish one book here or there, too. Top Shelf has like a line of books. They have a big old stack of books.
Yeah.
They got Andy Runton, whose Owly series for kids is extremely popular. I mean, you know, at comic conventions, there's a big line for Michael Turner, but there's just as big a line for Andy Runton.
Yep.
And the plushies are selling. So
yeah.
Jeffrey Brown, who we've talked about in a previous episode, and Alex Robinson, who we've interviewed, and we've talked about some of his books.
And Eddie Campbell.
Eddie Campbell.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The talented Eddie Campbell.
But none of those books come from the same genre. They're not related to each other. They're all over the place. So what we thought we would do is talk about just some of the stuff that we've read recently and some of the stuff that we really liked.
Can we start with the mutant books? Which one is the mutant book?
No. Well, let's start with like the superhero team book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about the alien space cops? Where are they? Is this them? That's not them.
What was the first Top Shelf book that you ever read?
I want to say it was From Hell, but I don't think that counts because From Hell was published elsewhere and the collection was released by Top Shelf.
But I mean, the collection is Top Shelf.
Yeah, so it was either From Hell or I was gonna say or Box Office Poison, but again, Box Office Poison was published and then collected by Top Shelf, so
it's
tough.
The book was sent
So it's either From Hell or Box Office Poison.
It was partially published somewhere else.
Yes, partially,
and then they finished it.
Yeah, exactly.
So same thing with From Hell.
So one of those two.
I think that's the standard 1-2 punch for us.
For the entry into it.
From Hell was the first one, which was like 10 years ago.
Yeah, I think I didn't even realize it was Top Shelf.
Well,
I wasn't even paying attention to.
And then Box Office Poison features after that. That's the standard entry point we've had.
And then I really learned about them a few years ago, a long way back. They had a bunch of credit problems.
Yeah.
And they sent out an email. They said we need everybody to buy as many books as possible. And it was this big web movement, and like fans saved Top Shelf.
Yep. I remember that.
And that, to me, really says a lot about the kind of stuff that they do and how people.
And what's funny is that ever since then, they do every now and then they do one of those like big, you know, kind of clearance sales kind of thing.
$10
and
sales.
like $10, $2 sale, $2 issue sale, stuff like that. And I know I've bought a lot of stuff through that way.
Definitely.
And it's been a great way to discover stuff that isn't mutant or superhero or a space cop or anything like that. You know?
When they have those $10, $2, $5, that's like ridiculously dirt cheap prices. I buy a bunch just sight unseen.
Yeah.
It's a good way to just go, all right, $2 a book, all right, boom, 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 boom.
Let me give it a shot, yeah.
So
exactly.
look out for those. I'm sure when it happens, we'll post them on the site and things like that. But those are a big deal.
What was your first, though?
Probably the same two.
Okay.
And then they had that sale, and I
Yeah.
bought like $60 worth of books, and I
Yeah.
got a whole stack of them. Some I liked, some I didn't, which makes sense because they're not alike. You know, it's
Yeah.
not like, you know. Anyway, we're gonna get to that. First book I want to talk about. This is one that really meant a lot to me recently. Was The King by Rich Koslowski, who we spoke to in San Diego. But I wanted to get a chance to talk about the book a little bit. This is one of those books that I finished, and I was like, wow. I have never read a thing like that, and it exists in comic books, and I can give this to anybody. It's basically the story of a journalist who used to write the headlines about Elvis being seen after he died.
So like the National Enquirer,
Right.
the supermarket rags.
And it turns out that there's this guy who wears a helmet who shows up playing shows in Vegas, and apparently he's the spitting image of the king. Sounds just like him, looks just like him, and the big mystery of the book is it really him? And it gets into all these questions of, you know, what's really important, what do you believe, is faith, it's things like that.
It's like the whole Andy Kaufman thing.
And
A
the
little.
question of the central question of the book is it more important to know the facts or is it more important to believe in something?
Right. That's like a belief. It's a
Yeah.
belief play. I like that.
But it's
And does knowing the facts make you happy as does believing in something?
Right.
It's very interesting.
Like Santa Claus.
and there's
Like Santa
all
Claus.
these
Santa Claus is-
characters, and there's no.
It's not Elvis the Santa.
Right. I know that. I'm just saying.
Sorry, go ahead.
I believe in Santa.
I can come back.
We're here now.
Okay, that's cool.
We're back for you.
I remember just putting this down and reading it in one sitting.
Yep.
And just being blown away by its simplicity, but also just its craft.
There's a lot of layers. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of layers. The cartooning style is cartoony, but it's very well done.
No, I think he's a very talented cartoonist.
Yeah, he's been working
very
on Archie
talented.
comics for a long time. It's just unlike anything that I had ever read, and it's a story, you know, that is eminently relatable to anybody. This is like one of those books. Like if somebody doesn't know what you can do with comic books, well, read this.
The King's one of the best OGN indie graphic novels I've read in a while.
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily 100% agree with the ending, but that is not because of badly written. It's because I didn't agree with the characters'
Decisions.
reactions.
Right.
But the book is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's the art's great, the story's great. You really get inside this world really easily, and it's great for Elvis fans who are.
And
I think there are a couple of Elvis fans.
I think there's a few. Yeah.
I believe Chris Staros is a gigantic Elvis.
Yes.
I believe he is as well.
Who isn't an Elvis?
Honestly, who isn't? Yeah. He's
You
the
know,
king.
this is like I can easily recommend this to anybody if you're in a rut and you want to get out of that superhero rut. This is a fantastic place to start.
He's never recommended it to me.
I have two.
Not personally.
He looks like that
Liar.
DC hero with a Ray. What's the?
He does. Yeah, he does look like the Ray.
And we're back.
Sorry, he does.
So is that Dr. Fate when he's fat? Another book by Rich Koslowski, which I wanted to point out, is Three Fingers.
And before you start talking about the book itself, I think it's a good representation that Top Shelf will take risks in format, which I think is really, really cool. If you look at the sizing
Yeah.
and the shapes.
And look at the difference between
and-
his two works, too.
And that, as well as the production values of the books, are often they're a little bit more.
They're gonna
you know.
publish mini comics too,
Yeah.
like
The
just
pages,
little,
the page
Yeah.
quality is great.
Yeah.
Their production is up and down. You know, we don't have a copy of it here, but you know, if you look at Lost Girls as the high end of
that's
production value,
Yeah.
you know, but then there's mini comics that are stapled together that they're putting out because they're trying to help
man.
people.
Yeah.
Exactly. This book I really wanted to highlight just because it is 180 degrees from where the king is. It's a faux documentary about.
I'd hope so because there's monkeys I see.
Well, it's
talking.
about tunes.
All right.
It's about.
Like Roger Rabbit.
It's sort of like a pasted on. Yes, a little bit. It's a pasted on history that would exist in the world of Roger Rabbit, of the movie industry and cartoons as they exist in it. And the whole thing is done in those interview shots, 3/4 shots. It's all done with dialogue. It's not so much action. There's sort of fake restored photographs and you know, not restored, but you know, fake old photographs. And there's like a mystery going on about. I don't even want to give it away.
Just read it.
It's completely different. I honestly, if I were to look at this, I couldn't tell you it was the same guy who did
That's
the
the most
King.
amazing thing is if you look at the art here and then if you look at the art in The King, it's completely different style. And you
Yeah.
can see just how talented Rich Koslowski is just from looking between the two books because it's really good here and it's really good there.
Yeah.
I mean, I know this falls under parody, but it comes really close, really dangerously close to Sue being like.
He does.
Sue, yeah,
I mean, basically, like he's given all the classic cartoon characters slightly different names, but
Like-
they're the same characters.
Where's the
It's
Mickey
like
Mouse
Ricky
now?
Rat,
Instead of Mickey
and
Mouse.
it's not. It's like
Dizzy Duck.
Buggy Bunny. Like
Yeah.
it's not. It's you know.
You
Fog-
know who it's supposed to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, there's the Beast. You know.
Yeah.
And then in Shadow, is the Speedy Rodriguez character.
Oh, nice meeting you.
And there's a-
Rodriguez instead of being
No.
Gonzalez.
Speedy Gonzalez. It was Slowpoke Rodriguez. That was his opposite. They're both racist.
Nice.
But it, like even if it's not a parody, like I've never even seen it. It's a documentary as a comic book.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything done like that before.
Cool.
It's unlike any others.
A book that I recently read from Top Shelf that I fell in love with was Tales from the Farm by Jeff Lemire.
And if you look at the cover right away, you see a little kid with a fake cape around his.
There you go.
You know,
Superman.
Yeah.
You know, if you're reading comics now, there's a real good chance you were a kid running around with a towel in your neck.
A lot of the Top Shelf stories, a lot of them are like The King and Three Fingers, which are a little kind of parody or comedy based. I mean, they touch on different genres. A lot of them actually tend to be very personal, and this is definitely one of them. And this is Essex County Volume 1, so I assume that there's going to be more of it.
Yeah.
But it's about a little kid who's living with his uncle after his mother passes away, and he doesn't have a father, and he daydreams, he loves comic books, and daydreams about being a superhero, and he's building a secret fort, and it's basically about him growing up in a short period of time, and dealing with the loss, and dealing, you know,
And
like...
him and his uncle have this weird relationship, and it's not bad. They just can't connect because of the stuff that's going on. And the poor guy, like his sister died, so he got stuck with this kid, and he wants to help, but he has no idea how to be a parent.
Right.
It was just foisted on him.
And there's a little mystery about who his father was. He never knew his father, and he slowly finds out. His uncle lives on a farm, and he's very isolated, so he's very alone. So he kind of invents this reality about him. It just really, like, I read it. It was one of those, like, every now and then there's a special comic book that you pick up and you start reading, you can't put down. And this is my most recent one that I just couldn't. I adored it. It gets you a little tear. It was really, really good.
Yeah,
So,
and this is the first of many to come. It's all done in this sort of sketchy, inky style.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things is Top Shelf will give a lot of people their starts.
Yeah.
You know, like, and a lot of those guys do, if not autobiographical, then personal stuff, and so it sort of gets to be all over the place. This is maybe a little more towards if you don't know much about Top Shelf and you were to say this is the kind of book they do.
Yeah.
This is probably one of those books. It's a little personal story.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it's bad in any way.
No, and it touches. It's a comic book. It's a graphic novel, and the main character reads comics, so it's steeped in this lore of comic book fandom that we all kind of grew up in. But it's not about comic books.
Nope.
But it's but we can instantly relate to it. But I could give it to my sister, and she'd be able to relate to it as well because it really is a touching story, and it's really good. And I can't wait to read more of it. I mean, the cover instantly drew me to it, and then the story just totally delivered, and so I was very happy with it.
I have not read it.
Well, you should read it after this. I haven't read The King, so I'm going
I'll
to take
take it.
this. I'm going to take The King.
Every time on this show. If you're not reading though, and you wanted to watch a movie,
Well, Top Shelf has 75,000 comics. They don't, but I'm just... Netflix has 75,000 movies. They don't have 75,000 comics. You can go to www.netflix.com. You make a list of the movies you want to see. They send them to you in the mail. Really fast delivery. You keep them as long as you want. No late fees. Send it back. Get more movies. You can get plans starting as low as $4.99 a month. And if you go to www.netflix.com/iFanboy, you get a free 2-week trial.
Very cool.
At netflix.com.
So we'd like to thank Netflix as one of our sponsors, and our other sponsor is GoDaddy.com. And GoDaddy.com is where you can go for all your internet needs, all you big geeks. And you can register domains, you can set up websites, they've got all these blogging tools, email tools. It's a really great place to place you. If you want to run a website, it's the one place you need to go. So head over to GoDaddy.com, and when you purchase something, if you use the coupon code iFanboy, you get 10% off. And we thank everybody who's used the coupon code, and please keep using it. GoDaddy rocks, so you can head over to GoDaddy.com and get your own piece of the internet today.
the next book, because we got to go through these,
Right,
is The Incredible Changebots by Jeffrey Brown.
It's one of the more recent releases.
It is. It came out about the same time as the Transformers because it's a Transformers parody, but done in Jeffrey Brown's style.
Jeffrey Brown of...
Well, we had spoken about his books, Clumsy and Be a Man.
Be a Man!
Unlikely.
In an earlier, Unlikely is another book in that vein. I believe there's a trilogy.
He has a very kind of compressed. He draws very small, and so the books come out kind of very small.
Oh, he draws this
you're
size.
stretched for that. I heard
Yeah,
you.
I had to get it.
Yeah.
Did you pull something?
Yeah, I think you did. Yeah.
You're getting old.
He draws this size.
Yeah.
He doesn't draw big and they scale
Right,
it down.
yeah.
And
And
Changebots.
he tends to draw and write very again personal, but also I'd say cringe stories.
Yeah, like
he
things
really-
that are so honest and personal
Yeah.
that you're like, oh, that happened to me and I didn't talk about it, so I don't know why you are.
So it was interesting because a lot of the stuff I've read of his stuff has been about his relationships and stuff like that. So Changebots I found was really interesting because it was completely a robots Transformers parody.
Yeah, but done in that same style.
Yeah,
but he
exactly.
colored it.
Yeah.
So it was all, but it was still like, it's funny because he's kind of a big name, but it's very handmade looking. You can see like he highlighted the captions, but the highlights go out of the line.
I think that's part of his charm, though. Is that it's like
He's a lucky dude to be able to get away with that.
Yeah.
But that's his thing. Like some people's films, super indie directors' films look like they're indie films, and then there's the bands that want the music to sound like it's produced in somebody's garage. And this guy, I think, wants his comics to seem like the most pure form of comic storytelling.
Yeah.
I did it on this page, and here it is, and boom, let's go.
So what'd you think? You liked his other work.
I do like his other work. I don't love his other work. I've enjoyed it. I'm not, the art, the sketchy art is whatever, but that's fine. I mean, the thing is that what's funny is that I often come down on a lot of people who go like, I could do that. And I found myself when I was reading like Clumsy and unlike this, going, I could do that. I'm like, but I didn't. So I give him props because he did. So that's totally cool. Changebots I liked because it showed an evolution in his art style and that he was coloring and all that kind of stuff. But essentially, it was just Transformers. I mean, and now, admittedly, there were moments in the writing that I laughed out loud. I literally laughed out loud.
And that doesn't happen all that often.
Right. I mean, literally laughed out loud. And
LOL.
Not LOL, which just gets thrown around. LLOL, which is the new abbreviation me and a coworker invented, and we want everyone to use LLOL for literally laugh out loud. When you really do laugh out loud, because LOL gets thrown around.
Laugh out loud.
Well, but LOL becomes a way to be like, oh, that was funny. But now LLOL is the thing that's going to tear up the industry.
I could keep going.
So I literally laughed out loud at some of the stuff. But as I'm reading it, I was like, this is literally just the Transformers with his interpretation. Well, that's either genius or hacky.
I think it was a little bit of both.
Yeah,
I really do, because there was things that I really liked about it. At the end of it, I wouldn't say I loved it, but there were jokes I liked. There was jokes about like they're all having a big battle, and she changed it around at the end where the good guys aren't really the good guys and the bad guys.
It did get turned upside down a lot.
Yeah. Like there's jokes about them missing all the time, just like in those cartoons.
When they're shooting.
Yeah, they just no one ever hit anything.
Right. And I like there was some fun play with the dialogue and things like that. But
I think for me the reason I didn't even finish it was because his style is great for the personal stuff, but I couldn't get into it as robot stories. So it's just like it looks too weird.
You know what it was? It was self-indulgent. I mean, like it's really the kind of thing where it's like this. Like the kind of thing when you get an idea and you do it, but like really you should just keep it to yourself.
I don't think it's that.
I will read as many of these as he puts out, and I happily endorse them and tell everybody to read them. But
he's done other superhero parodies too. Big Head's one. I actually haven't read that yet.
I enjoyed it though, so
yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, he's good. So another big name at Top Shelf is Craig Thompson, which you mentioned earlier. Mm-hmm. Craig Thompson got a lot of popularity from the book Blankets. Blankets again is a very personal, relationshipy kind of story about a boy and a girl and Jesus, and it's really really good. A lot of people like it a lot more than I do. Not to say that I dislike it. It's just whatever. But recently I read one of his older works, and I don't know where it fits, whether before or after Blankets. I forget. I think it was before Blankets. Called Goodbye Chunky Rice. Which have either of you guys read this? Or?
A long time ago.
Yeah. Talk about again touching. I mean, this is the episode where I cry. Tales from the Farm made me cry. Goodbye Chunky Rice made me cry a little. It's really, this is the kind of book actually that I want to read to my niece when she's like 7 or 8 or so. Mm-hmm. It's just a touching story about a turtle and his rat friend, and the turtle is moving away.
Yeah, you don't like fables.
Well, no, but don't get me wrong, start on fables. No, but so
where's the Be a Man book?
And so the turtle, is moving. So there's like him saying goodbye, and then him packing, and then he goes off on this adventure, and his rat friend misses him, and just like that whole kind of the world of the two of them. And it just, again, I picked it up, I couldn't put it down, and it just got me a little upset.
He's got a lot of range, that Craig Thompson.
Yeah, but like some of the stuff, like when they said goodbye, like because the thing, it's It was really nice. It was really nice. I mean, it was just like a nice storytelling comic book in comic book mode that tugs at your heartstrings.
Yeah.
So I was impressed by it. So I know you didn't like it as much as I did, but
Not really.
Yeah, but you should give it another read if it was a few years ago. I mean,
Right.
it was just like when they're just their best friend, like they're hugging.
Do you want to talk?
Yeah, I do.
After
Do you
the
have something you
show?
need to get out? Something you need to talk about?
No.
So sad.
Recently, we were at a Comic-Con. Ron and I were stuck in the airport, as people tend to get stuck, and I borrowed the Surrogates from Ron.
Yes, I bought that at the con because I heard good things about it.
I read it. Anthony Venditti? No, that's a mobster's name.
It's Robert Venditti
Robert Venditti.
and
Anthony
Brett,
Venditti is some sort of
who
fiction
wrote it.
author.
Brett Weldley.
Weldell.
Surrogates is about a future time when people are so lazy or
Well, just
scared, but they basically never leave their apartments, and their surrogate bodies live their life out
So
in the world.
everybody's got a robot basically that lives their life for them. They jack in.
like VR, like a V.
Yeah.
And then the body goes to work and goes to parties.
And then the surrogate body doesn't have to look like you. It can be a
No.
woman, it could be a woman, it
Woman?
could be. I stumbled. A man or a woman.
And it lives your life for
Whoa,
you, basically.
man!
yeah, like you can.
Harriet.
Everybody's hot, everybody's good looking and attractive, and they're all. But the thing is, people are scared to leave. Somebody just starts killing the surrogates because he
So-
wants people to return to life.
Well, one of the reasons that I think I wanted to talk about this book is that it's a complete departure from all the other stuff we talked. It's
dystopian science fiction.
Yeah.
It's Blade Runner, and it's Philip K. Dick. It's
Yep.
it's a whole other thing going on, and it's it doesn't look like Goodbye Chunky Rice.
No.
No.
It's just it's a beautiful book.
It could be an image book. I mean, this is something that's completely different from
Totally, yeah, totally. And it's been optioned for a movie, so
Yep.
you can hear about it more in
You
the
are.
future, hopefully, if it gets developed, which I think it will, because it's awesome.
But it's just a really strong science fiction dystopian future story.
And like good science fiction, it has a lot to question about society. Are we being too removed with all the computers?
Because
and
it can
the internet?
definitely be, you see the progression from where we are today to where the world
It's
that's
a very
starting to take
easily
place in.
seen
Yeah.
progression.
Yeah, and makes you think. It does
Exactly,
make you
and
think.
that's good science fiction.
Yeah. So.
Makes you want to play World of Warcraft. Is that bad?
Yes, that's
it's
bad.
not
That's
supposed
very
to-
bad.
Oh, okay.
I'm supposed to now knock you out.
Yeah, we need to shock you every time you think World of Warcraft.
I'm out, baby. I'm out. So there's like an overview of some of the stuff.
This is but a slice
There's a
of the
lot
top
more.
shelf library. I mean,
We've talked about A Complete Lowlife, Ed Brubaker's first work.
Yep.
That
In the
came
past.
from them.
Yep.
Box
just-
Office Poison.
The Bacchus series from Eddie Campbell.
Campbell.
yep. The girls, the porn,
Lost Girls.
Lost Girls. Right.
We talked about all those in previous episodes.
Now
of
the
this.
thing is, all the stuff here is not for everyone. I know. I mentioned earlier that when they have sales, I buy a lot of stuff sight unseen. I just click. That looks interesting. I'd say it's like 50-50 on whether or
Yeah,
not I really like
yeah.
it or not. But I also don't feel like I feel okay if I buy something from them I don't like because I feel like I'm supporting.
Right, but
indie books.
and I think it's because Top Shelf fills an important role in the industry. Their market share isn't as big as the DC or the Marvels or even Image or Dark Horse, but they're growing, and in 10 years we've seen them become a real name to the point where when you're at a convention, they are a booth you should go visit.
Yep.
Well,
Absolutely.
that and they're selling books to people who
don't buy it.
Marvel and DC are feeding on themselves basically. They've got an established audience, and that audience is largely the same. Top Shelf is going out there making books for people so that they can actually grow the comic book market, and that is the most important thing that anybody.
When
is doing
people
right
talk
now.
about how the industry might die,
Yeah.
but really they mean Marvel and DC. This kind of stuff's not going to die.
Well, this is a company that came up from the depths of the worst point
Yep.
in comics. When people weren't selling comics and they were like, "Is Marvel going to go out of business?" That's right when Top Shelf started and was building up a business. So, there's hope.
But
Yeah.
this is comics right here.
So if you want to find out more about them, you should go to Top Shelf's website at topshelfcomics.com, and that's COMIX.com. And check them out. Or if you want any specific questions about any of these books, you can shoot us an email at contact@ifanboy.com, and we'll be glad to point you in the right direction or tell you about them or what we can do. Or if you have any questions about Top Shelf that you'd like to talk to us about, you can call our voicemail line at 1-888-FANBOYS. It's 1-888-326-2697. Cue Connor.
I'll go.
Cue Josh.
On the website where you can see this at ifanboy.com, there's going to be a place where you can discuss this, but there's also other stuff that you can discuss there. We post book reviews every week, and we post blog entries and all sorts of stuff. It's great discussion going on. There's also the forums at revision3.com. You can go to revision3.com/ifanboy. There's a link to the forums there, and there's all sorts of other talk going on there.
And finally, you all right there?
You know what?
I was starting to go and you started talking.
Go for it.
If you want an iFanboy t-shirt, you go to jinx.com/iFanboy. Get a nice blue iFanboy t-shirt, intern on the back. If you wear one of those, we'll see you on the street.
Wait,
You
there's
gotta
an
carry our
intern on the
bags.
back?
Yeah, he's so hanging on for dear life. Help me. Shut up.
So show your support by representing as one of the iFanboy faithful with a t-shirt. We really appreciate it. So, yeah. So I love Top Shelf. I think they're great.
Yeah, they're a great company.
Yeah.
Great
So.
company.
It's crazy talk.
They're really good.
Are they?